touchdown, flight controllers fired the rockets on the Columbia, slowing it down from its orbital speed of 17,500 miles an hour to begin its descent to Earth. The craft was then flipped around so that, as this animation from the Rockwell Company shows, the bottom of the orbiter could absorb the heat of re-entry. During this phase, the spacecraft loses communication with the ground for 16 minutes. When communications were re-established, it didn't appear there were any problems.
Okay, Houston, read you loud and clear, and the burn was good.
High-powered telescopes and chase aircraft got the first views of the orbiter as it passed over the California coast, now traveling 4,500 miles an hour at an altitude of 26 miles. But it was slowing down and dropping quickly. As it circled over the airbase on its approach to the runway, the crowds could hear and feel the sonic boom as the Columbia dropped below the speed of sound, 760 miles an hour. The flight plan had called for a landing with crosswinds, but the winds were too strong for that, and the Columbia landed into the wind as it did last April.
10, 5, 3, touchdown. Nose gear 15. 5, 3, touchdown. Welcome home. Thank you, Chase.
Shuttle control. The unofficial touchdown time and mission elapsed time is 2 days, 6 hours, 13 minutes, 10 seconds.
Since the touchdown at around about 22 minutes to 23 minutes past 8 this morning, Eastern Time, the astronauts have remained on board the space shuttle, have been in communication with the mission controllers. Various shutdown phases have been underway, and we're currently awaiting the emergence of the two astronauts, Joe Engle and Richard Truly, from the Space Shuttle Columbia.
It was a real homecoming for astronauts Joe Engle and Dick Truly when they emerged from the Columbia about 40 minutes after touchdown. They flew the first shuttle test landings together here at Edwards Air Force Base. They briefly looked over the orbiter, which took them into space, then climbed into a van to be taken to a medical checkup, where their wives, Mary Engle and Colleen Truly, waited for a private welcome. In the VIP area, several thousand invited guests waited too, and waited. After 2 days in orbit, Engle and Truly took time out for a shower before finally heading over to a hero's welcome.
Dick and I, we feel that we had a good flight, had a fun flight, and hope that we can have contributed meaningfully to the advancement of spaceflight. Dick?
I'm 100% with Joe. We wanted to stay a couple more days. We were just beginning to figure out how to do it up there.
Victorian police today had their first good lead on the possible whereabouts of the Dandenong abductor. The lead has renewed beliefs that the elusive criminal is still in the Kevington search area. Norm Beeman reports.
It was just as police were deciding whether to all but abandon the search here that the breakthrough came. The owner of a holiday shack here reported that there appeared to have been a break-in at this neighbouring holiday shack. On investigating, police found a number of significant facts. I'm not at liberty to disclose the details at the moment, as it may frustrate police investigations. However, police believe that the fugitive was in that house no more than 48 hours ago. One bed inside the shack had been slept in. It's not known if any food has been taken. However, the owners of the home, who live in Frankston, are on their way to the scene to determine just what has been taken. Police see today's discovery as the most significant breakthrough yet in the hunt for the abductor. After checking the breaking, police then searched old gold mines in bushland at the rear of the house, but without success. This latest development is likely to completely change police plans in this search. Instead of an expected scaling down of the search, it's now thought that it'll be intensified.
Two youths are being questioned by the Port Adelaide CIB after a 17-year-old youth was shot 3 times in the groin and upper body at Seaton last night. He's now in a stable condition in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital following surgery. Police believe at least 5 shots were fired from a .22 rifle, the result of a feud between 2 teenage gangs. An Ulster member of the British Parliament has been killed by IRA gunmen during a weekly meeting with his constituents in Belfast. The Reverend Robert Bradford, MP for Belfast South East, died in a hail of bullets when 3 gunmen wearing overalls and Halloween masks burst into a community centre and opened fire.
At least 3 gunmen went to Benmore Community Centre, where Mr Bradford met constituents every fortnight. The gunmen wore overalls and Halloween masks. They killed Mr Bradford inside. Mr Ken Campbell was shot on the doorstep, probably by mistake, as the gunman fired at Mr Bradford's bodyguard. 80 children at a disco in the community centre saw one murder. Many leading politicians are provided with RUC bodyguards. No one here would talk on camera, afraid to. 2 hours after the murders, Mr Bradford's body was removed. He'd been planning a political tour of America with the Reverend Ian Paisley.
The Todd River in Alice Springs back in flood following heavy rains. Details on that and other stories shortly in 7 National News.
Looking for a budget-priced electrical appliance? Radio Rentals can help you. All reconditioned appliances leave their modern workshops in showroom condition, with all worn parts replaced and exterior finishes like new. You'll receive full service for the duration of your rental plan, or up to 12 months guarantee on refrigerators, washers and lawnmowers, or 3 months on sound equipment if you pay cash. Home delivery for just 1 month's rent in advance or the cash transaction. Radio Rentals reconditioned appliances. Now that's real budget value.
It's Christmas at Target. Just look at the value. Lady sundresses, a great range of styles, just $9.99. Men's shirts, lots of popular colours, only $7.99. Boys' shorts and tops, Christmas value at $2.99 each. Colourful beach towels, Jacquard beach towels, $11.99. Kids' beach towels, $4.59. Christmas at Target. Look at the value. Look at the quality. And look at the super gift ideas.
Target. Your super value, super quality Christmas shopping store.
Because Datsun have the biggest range of 1-ton trucks in the country, we can offer you the country's biggest choice, with both diesel and petrol models. So you're far more likely to find the gutsy model you want at your Datsun dealer than anywhere else. So see the country's biggest 1-ton range at your Datsun dealer now. It's all part of the way that Datsun takes the hard work out of trucking.
Is the average bank manager emotional enough to understand the thrill of a perfect drive? The delight of an immaculate chip? And holding a tricky 20-footer? Or understand that when you retire, you still want to do the same things, but more often? Greg Weeks of the Commonwealth does. He knows a high-interest monthly income scheme can help pay for the things a salary used to.
Cheer up, son.
The Commonwealth Bank. Making money come to terms with people.
State Opposition Leader John Bannon says the Roxby Downs indenture bill is unnecessary and a mere public relations exercise on the part of the Tonkin government. Mr Bannon says that even if the bill was passed when it comes before Parliament, there was no guarantee the uranium project would go ahead. The opposition leader says Roxby Downs partners, Western Mining and British Petroleum, won't finish their feasibility study until 1984, and only then will a decision on the project be able to be taken. Alice Springs is still drying out after a sudden rainstorm sent a rare flood of water down the Todd riverbed. Alice Springs police said today the rains were caused several close calls when causeways were swamped and half the town was cut off to normal traffic. Alex Smith reports.
The Todd River sprang into life on Friday night as the second heavy rains of the wet season inundated the north. The flash flow prevented most cars from crossing to the town's east bank, but for locals it was a rare and most welcome chance to use the riverbed as a watering hole. Casualties of the sudden rain, such as this Ford van, are still evident. The van was attempting a river crossing early on Saturday morning when it became bogged. Police called a tow truck, but the watery onslaught arrived first and the driver and passengers abandoned the vehicle only minutes before the car was swamped. Police say the vehicle will remain firmly entrenched in mud for several days. A 7-year-old boy was also trapped in the swirling water after being swept from a bridge while playing with friends. The tide carried him several metres downstream before a photographer dragged him to dry land. With the hot November sun beating down once again, most roads are now passable, but police say it will take several days with no further rain before the area dries out completely.
And Rundle Mall took on a new look today with the appearance of more than 350 motorcycles, hundreds of motorcycle riders and several hundred onlookers. And the display was organised to promote biking and to make the public aware of issues involving the sport. Chris Bishop reports.
Around 350 bikes from all over the state were included in the display. Collectively, they're worth more than $1 million, and individually, some of them are fairly pricey too. For example, this customised Harley-Davidson would fetch close on $40,000. Most of the parts were imported from the United States, ending up on a machine which can travel in excess of 140 miles an hour. If you're a BMW fan and have plenty of money to spend, you might be interested in this little number, $9,950 worth, plus insurance. The idea of the open day was to bring home to the public the value of biking as an alternative leisure activity and to help rid the sport of its bad image. The whole affair was organised by the Federation of Australian Motorcyclists, which is primarily a political movement designed to gain a better deal for bike riders. They lobby at state and federal levels over issues like third-party insurance. Just recently, more than 900 bike owners took to the streets to press for changes to insurance laws.
Well, next up, sport, including highlights from Perth of the third day's play in the first test between Australia and Pakistan.
This is Gus, a businessman. A company man for sure. He had an air-conditioned office on the 14th floor. But somewhere out there, his family were melting. It was summertime, man, and old Adelaide was sweltering. Gus had an idea. Got J-Mel on the phone.
If you can air-condition my office, you can air-condition my home.
And before you knew it, J-Mel had the job done. For carrier air conditioning, J-Mel are number one. Check around if you want. You take my advice. I mean, no one beats J-Mel for quality or price.
Have a Phillips when you buy. Snuggle up with one in bed. Take it with you on the road. Or let a Phillips ease your load. Be where you want to be. See what you want to see.
Now everyone can watch a little Philips Natural Colour TV. Choose from a portable 10 or the 14 or 16 with full remote control. Philips, we want you to have the best.
Check out the specials. Check out the value. Check out the good things at Coles New World.
Good things like one-stop shopping and weekly specials like these. Tucker Box chunks and gravy, only 45 cents. Amscol ice cream, great value, $1.29. Tasty Darling Down shoulder ham, special, $4.49 a kilo. Crisp lettuce, special, 49 cents each.
Check out the good things at Coles New World.
Just before we go to cricket, in Adelaide today, the food and music and open-air stalls in Hinley Street lent a festival atmosphere to that end of the city. As Hinley Street traders opened their doors and moved into the street, hundreds of people took a stroll through the unusual Sunday afternoon carnival. Alex Smith has this story.
Downtown traders have been planning this afternoon for months in an effort to promote the different faces of Hinley Street. The accent was definitely on food, and whether it was a snack or a meal required, all tastes were catered for. For those still feeling the effects of the Sunday roast, there were plenty of other things to look at and listen to, even clowns and aspiring politicians, or a mixture of both.
I'm the new cop on High Street. Now we're going to clean up this here scene. Anybody got a broom, a vacuum cleaner, or a brush? Oh, yeah.
Other people, especially children, preferred to be made up native style by a kindly clown who showed a special talent for watercolours. As a myriad of other activities vied for elbow space, music of every beat and style replaced the usual car noises, creating a circus feeling. And while most people responded to this, some found it just a bit too much for Sunday afternoon.
Well, firstly to Test cricket, and Australia's heading for a formidable lead over Pakistan in the first Test in Perth. At tea on the third day, Australia has a lead of 434 with 6 wickets in hand. Kim Hughes is not out on 105. Bruce Laird failed again to record his first Test century when Imran had him caught at the wicket for 85. And here are some of the highlights of Australia's second innings from the Wacker ground today.
The Australians made a slow start today with only 14 runs in the first half hour, but then began to pick up the run rate, Quazim to Kim Hughes.
That's cut away right into the gap. Well placed that by Hughes. Ball just a little wide, a little short, and it's going to reach the boundary. So 4 runs. A good shot that from Hughes.
Imran Khan to Kim Hughes.
Another good ball and well played. Hughes adjusted his shot there very quickly. He was going to hit it through the offside, but it swung in quite a bit, and he adjusted and played it down to mid-on.
Australia didn't lose a wicket in the morning session, with Laird and Hughes building up an overall lead of 310. Then came Imran Khan's first ball after lunch.
And he's gone first ball after lunch. Just a little loose, no, you wouldn't believe it.
Imran to the new batsman, Graham Yallop.
A good shot. Nice start for Graham Yallop. And even though the fingertips touched the ball in that despairing dive, it still races away to the boundary.
Sarfraz to Hughes.
That's a fine shot. Sikanda had 3 men out there for the hook and pull.
Imran to Yallop.
Also fairly wide. Yallop didn't quite time it, but it's gone away over the outfield quickly enough.
Imran to Hughes.
Fine stroke. Won't quite go to the boundary, but Hughes will pick up 3.
And in the international match between the West Indies and South Australia at the Adelaide Oval, the home side are chasing a massive 451 runs in their second innings. At stumps, they were none for 55. The tourists declared their second innings closed at 5 for 236, with top scorers being Marshall 66 and Bacchus 58 not out. Graham Badger has the highlights of this morning's play.
West Indies night watchman Colin Croft was quickly in the runs this morning with a boundary to the fine leg fence off the bowling of Sam Parkinson. Opener Desmond Haynes played this ball from Winter beautifully off his toes to deep square leg, and Peter Sleep had a long chase to keep the scoring down to only 3 runs. Sayers relieved Winter at the northern end, and Croft helps himself to 2 runs through the gully position as the first heavy shower of rain started to fall. Play was interrupted twice during the morning session, and 68 minutes was lost as showers moved across the ground. A short-pitched ball from Parkinson was picked up early by Haynes, who dispatched it to the fine leg fence for 4 more to the tourists. South Australia missed 1 chance when Croft lofted a slower one from Parkinson to Harris at mid-off, but the newcomer put the sharp catch to ground. Croft went on to score 34 before he got an edge to a ball from Peter Sleep, and Phillips accepted the catch at slip. Haynes scored 53 before keeper Wright held the catch off the bowling of Parkinson, and the Windies were 3 for 114. With showers continuing in Adelaide, the plan for more batting practice for the visitors was somewhat thwarted.
Finally, golf, and South Africa's Gary Player has won the $100,000 Tweed Heads Classic in Queensland with a final round of 67. Player finished 13 under par for the tournament, 4 strokes ahead of Bob Shearer, and a further stroke clear of third-place getters Jack Newton and Wayne Grady.
Bob Shearer, after a consistent front 9, started a rash of birdies around the back, and here he is at 10.
Watching anxiously, but he knew that it was right on target, and there, a repeat of what we saw from Fred Norman.
No bayliner cruiser, Len, but a birdie too.
And that was a confident stroke.
Gary Player set up the victory in his first 9 holes and then settled into steady par golf.
Wayne Grady just a few moments ago bogeyed this hole to drop to 6 under par for the tournament, but
Gary Player tapping in for a par 3 on the 10th.
Stuart Ginn had plenty of troubles today.
Oh, there it is, the big carve off to the right, and that road isn't very far from the edge of the fairway.
Well, but he was recovering well.
Ginn has had the problem of going out of bounds. That would be his 5th shot.
Oh, that's a save.
And Shearer just kept on charging.
Bob Shearer. And his confidence is high today. 2 birdies in a row.
But the day and the tournament belong to Gary Player.
I'd just like to say how pleased I am with the way I played today. I really hit the ball nicely. In fact, that is about as well as I could play. And I thought the greens were in magnificent condition.
Well, after this break, we'll join Keith taking a close look at tomorrow's weather.
A street's cornetto with blue ribbon ice cream. A street's cornetto with blue ribbon ice cream.
A street's cornetto with blue ribbon ice cream makes the moment perfect.
It's the creamy blue ribbon ice cream and Street's Cornetto that makes a Street's Cornetto perfect.
A street's cornetto with blue ribbon ice cream makes the moment perfect.
When they asked me to try this new power with lamb, I thought it'd be good. Well, it's better than good. It's great, isn't it, mate? Power with lamb is solid, and it's chunky. There's a lot of delicious lamb in there, and dogs love lamb. See what I mean? That's a completely nourishing meal. I can't imagine any dog not loving this new power with lamb. I thoroughly recommend it.
If you had to go to one restaurant for your meat, one for your potatoes, one for your cauliflower, and another for your carrots, you'd probably never eat out again. But people go to one place for savings, one for a loan, one for health cover, and another for life assurance. Yet Manchester Unity give you everything you need, all on one plate. And at Manchester Unity, you don't have to take something you don't want in order to get something you do. Manchester Unity. Just give us a ring and we'll send you our menu.
AE1 Plus program. It adjusts itself in a microsecond to capture the action as you see it, automatically, perfectly. Just focus and shoot. The Canon AE1 Plus program. So advanced, so simple.
Tonight's weather report is brought to you by Climatrol and Carrier Air Conditioning, your southern suburb carrier specialist.
Hello again. Well, keep your cardigans handy because it's going to remain fairly cool to cold for at least the next 36 hours. There won't be much rain about. It could be a bit damp around the Adelaide Hills, southern ranges and southern coast tonight, but there's a lot of cold air coming from the deep southern ocean. In fact, the origin at the moment is about 1,500 to 2,000 kilometres south of the continent, and you can see the effect in the southeast part of the continent. Have a look at Hobart today, back to winter with this blast of cold air, just 11 degrees with a few showers. Melbourne only made it to 15. We can almost follow the line of the cold air up over Adelaide, 17. I think Broken Hill today just scraped in with a 23. The air at the moment's moving towards central Australia, and Alice Springs' top temperature tomorrow will be just 17 degrees because of this cold air, and 17's about a little bit under half what the centre's maximum temperatures have been for the last couple of months. The only other rain around today was in Townsville, which had 14 millimetres, and of course during the day there were a few showers around South Australia, the heaviest falls being 3 millimetres at Murray Bridge and 4 millimetres at Stirling. Temperatures, of course, varied from 11 in Hobart to 26 degrees in Perth. Very pleasant there at the moment. Sun is shining. Up to 35 degrees in the tropics. Lows last night. Darwin dropped to 29 overnight. It was 24 degrees in Townsville first thing this morning. 19 degrees in Brisbane. It dropped to 17 degrees in Alice Springs. Perth had an overnight temperature last night of 15. It was 14 degrees in Sydney. 13 degrees in Broken Hill overnight. 11 in Melbourne. Dropped to 10 degrees in Canberra. And poor old Hobart, an overnight low of 8 degrees. So only a 3-degree variation in 30 hours. For the interstate travellers tomorrow, the forecasts are, first of all, Townsville, thunderstorms, very sultry, 31 degrees. Brisbane, a sultry day, quite hot, with afternoon thunderstorms and showers, a top of 28 tomorrow. Sydney will have showers on the harbour, 20. Canberra, cool, cloudy with showers, 17 degrees. The same in Melbourne tomorrow, cool, cloudy with further showers, 16. Hobart, a little bit warmer, but not much, just 15 degrees with further shower activity. Darwin, storms in the area, 33 and sultry. Alice Springs, look at that tomorrow, just 17 degrees. That's quite a cold day. And Perth, fine and hot, 30 degrees. The surface situation tonight, boys and girls, a very simple one for us to read. Have a look at the size of the high-pressure cell in the bight. And being an anticyclone, we follow the isobars around in an anti-clockwise direction. If we follow it along around the Southern Ocean there, and you can see the blast of cold air coming up from the Southern Ocean. That's why Hobart today, just 11 degrees, coming straight up over South Australia. And by tomorrow, that air mass will go right up as high as Alice Springs and keep the temperature down. So essentially, that's the situation. A cold south to southeasterly airstream, and that'll persist for about the next 36 hours. If we look at the satellite photograph tonight, shows us a couple of things. First of all, that there's not a lot of cloud around in the bight at the moment. It is stratocumulus, but the air at the moment is very dry. The dew point's down to about 3, and of course, when it gets that low, there can't be much condensation. So after tonight, and a few showers around the southern coast and ranges with dry air coming up, the sky will break up. It'll be a fair amount of sunshine tomorrow, but with this blast of cold air coming up, temperatures staying down. The other feature tonight, we can see a lot of the build-up around northern Australia now, the wet season moving in. A lot of thunderstorms in this area, and flying conditions tonight around there are reported to be very hazardous. In the state today, as you well know, temperatures were well below average, and of course in many areas 5 to 6 degrees below. Maximum range from 12 degrees only at Stirling today, which had 4 millimetres of rain during the day, up to 29 at Moomba. Overnight lows last night dropping to 7 degrees at Mount Gambier and Stirling, and 5 degrees at Kyan-Cutter. Now, in the country centres tomorrow, because of virtually no change in the weather pattern and the continuation of this blast of cold southerly air, temperatures not far removed from those of today, most of them the same as they were today. Mount Gambier tomorrow, another chilly 14, Port Lincoln 16, Ceduna 19, and Broken Hill down 1 tomorrow to 22 degrees. So the state forecast, very simply for you. First of all, a strong wind warning is current for the south central and southeast coast and the Gulf waters, fishermen, because of this blast of cold southerly air coming up. Will be a bit damp around the hills tonight, the southern ranges and also the southern coast. The last of the moist air goes, but cold, dry air tomorrow, keeping the temperatures on a par with today, and because of the velocity of the wind, mainly moderate seas. Now, the city's top today scraped up to 17 degrees at 11:30 this morning. Our low last night of 10.9 came at 4:30 this morning. At 6 this evening in the city, a sunny 15 degrees. The barometric pressure 1,020.1 millibars and rising, and the humidity 49% and falling. The tide times tomorrow, around about 7 o'clock at Outer Harbour, certainly only jetty fishing tomorrow, and sunrise a few minutes after 6. Adelaide could be a shower around the hills tomorrow, but fine and mild, general fine and cool tomorrow with broken sky, plenty of sunshine, with essentially south to southeasterly winds, which on the waters tomorrow, that's the metropolitan waters, 22 to 27 knots, so we'll have waves at least 2 metres high. The city tonight dropping down to around about 9 degrees, up tomorrow to 18 degrees, and the